Welcome to the Beam Show, the show where we discuss topics on mental health, well-being and personal development. We are your hosts, Lianne and myself, Tom Weaver, and these conversations come from our experience in training, the therapy room and our personal experiences. So let me start off this session with a quote from Marcus Aurelius. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. So today is World Meditation Day, and we thought it only right to talk about meditation, some of the challenges that people face, and the many different ways that we can meditate. So we're going to have a short discussion of all about those things first, and then Lianne is going to guide us through a meditation at the end. Lianne is an experienced meditation teacher. You'll be able to find her guiding sessions on Insight Timer, which is an app that's available on all devices. You'd be able to find her by just searching Lianne Weaver, and that one's totally free. And Lianne is also on the Breath Source app, and that is also available on any device that you can download apps from. So, Lianne, how would you explain meditation to someone who hasn't practiced it?
Hiya, Tom. So I think the simplest way to explain meditation is to say that it's a sense of focused awareness. I think that's kind of it in a nutshell. I think many of us perhaps have images of what meditation should be and sort of knotting yourself up like a pretzel and chanting Om and having your hands like this. And absolutely, actually, all of that is part of certain types of meditation. But the reality is we kind of go into meditation many times a day, really. And so when you have a meditation practice, it's using that, but with focus. So anytime you are really immersed in one thing, almost if someone said your name, you wouldn't hear them, is a form of meditation.
So I remember when sort of first getting into meditation or trying to find my own way with it, it was quite a common thing to hear is now, find a quiet space, put on some like plinky plunky music and clear your mind of all your thoughts, empty your mind, have no thoughts at all. And I think to anyone who has tried to empty their mind of all thoughts in a peaceful time like that just seems impossible. So meditation isn't about having no thoughts at all.
No, I think particularly when it's you're told to empty your mind of thoughts, then all of a sudden you just have a million thoughts. It's like when someone tells you to relax, you start to feel tense, right?
Yeah.
So it's just not very helpful, really, particularly when you're starting out. And the reality is we have around 60,000 thoughts a day. Our brain is pretty busy thinking all of the time. And so to expect, having done no meditation, no kind of mindfulness work before, to just sit down and go, okay, empty my mind of thoughts, and for it to be empty. I mean, I would love to know how to do that if someone's mastered it, but that's definitely not my experience of it. And I think when you listen to people who meditate quite intensely, and even the Dalai Lama has actually talked about this, is some days it's a lot easier than others. So some days you can really get into a meditation and find that peace and kind of go off into your own little world. Other days your mind is particularly active, and in kind of Buddhism, it's known as the monkey mind. It's almost like it swings from branch to branch, grabbing thought after thought after thought. So the way that I've been taught it and the way that I use it is that you know that monkey will swing around, but you don't follow it. So if a thought comes in of what shall I cook for dinner, you don't then start thinking about meals to cook for dinner. You just think, okay. And then the next one might be, I had chicken yesterday. Oh, okay. You kind of accept them rather than following the monkey and swinging after him on his branches.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that makes it much clearer. Like, how would you how would you sort of suggest to someone who hasn't meditated before, like where would they start? Like, what if you wanted to say meditate this weekend or tomorrow morning, whatever it is, what would you say to someone who hasn't meditated before?
I would say don't put any pressure on yourself. Meditation is always called a practice because you're never done. You've never mastered it. So it's something that you are always coming to in some ways fresh every time you decide to meditate because your mind is different all the time. And for me, the easiest way to start to build a meditation practice is by using the breath. So when I talk about meditation being focused awareness, in some meditations, that might be staring at a candle. In others, it might be saying a mantra over and over and over and over again. In others, and most commonly, it's by starting to focus on your breath. Your breath is a really powerful tool in everything, as we often teach, but certainly in meditation. So a great place to start is 60 seconds of noticing the breath going in, the breath going out, and seeing and playing with it. Can I slow this down? Some people like to count it, some people like to do it intuitively. Can I make this exhale slightly longer than the one before? Can I pay attention to the temperature of the air coming in and out of my nose? That sort of thing. Just having focused awareness on the breath is a great place to start.
Yeah, I like that's. I think that's definitely what helped me when I came to meditation. For those who don't know, you've been teaching meditation for years and years and years. And it was probably about 10 years ago. Used to run these. They were like wellness days, sort of well-being workshops from hotels all around sort of South Wales. And I always remember when it came to meditations, I had to leave. And when it came to that part, and everyone was settling down and either lying down on the floor or just getting comfortable and sort of tuning in. If I had stayed for those times, I would have just gone to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was quite a loud snorer, and so it was quite disruptive. So I always felt quite self-conscious then when it came to meditating in a group setting. But it was what you were saying about the breath that, and when we started to learn more about the breath, it then gave me a focus. Yeah. And breathing in and out, as simple as that sounds, is you're giving that focused attention, and then without realizing it, it then becomes a meditative practice. And yeah, that for people struggling to meditate, that's great advice, and that's what helped me.
I think you can absolutely use meditation to go off to sleep. And I've used it many, many times, and I've encouraged clients to use it to do a guided meditation to go off to sleep or a yoga nidra. And that's beautiful and lovely and can really help you get into a peaceful, restorative sleep. However, if you're doing a meditation practice in the middle of the day, most of the time the goal is not to go to sleep. And actually meditation is about regaining control of that monkey mind. And if I go to sleep, I've again lost control. I'm not being present with it. And so, when I keep saying it's a practice, the practice really is like any other exercise of creating discipline. So sometimes the discipline is not letting my mind go all over the place. Sometimes the discipline is not letting my mind just shut down and go to sleep. It's being there in that moment, focusing on the breath, the mantra, the candle, the words, whatever it is the practice. It's like training my brain to just be on that one thing in that one moment.
So why do we actually want to train our brain to do that? Like what are the benefits to doing this practice?
Okay, so there's loads of research on meditation. It's been researched quite extensively in universities. And as a kind of overview, generally what they find is it reduces stress and anxiety. It gives us a kind of greater sense of self, so we have more self-awareness. It enables us to tune into our body, which is really good for pain management. So meditation's been used quite a lot in terms of managing pain. And I mean, anyone that's had a child or anyone who's been in extreme pain will probably have had a medical professional telling them to focus on the breath, ignore everything else, just focus on your breath. The breath, as we know, has multiple benefits, and if we focus on it and we slow it down, we start to trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, so we feel more relaxed, therefore making pain easier to deal with. But also, that's a meditative practice. I'm going to ignore everything around me and I'm just going to focus on that breath going in, that breath going out. So it's really good for pain reduction. It's good for improving sleep, and these have been proven over and over and over again. I think from a personal experience, getting control of my mind, as someone who has a really overactive mind, I've got a tendency to overthink. I've got a more anxious disposition. So having a practice that I can come to, that I can slow my mind down, I can choose my thoughts, I can tune into myself better, helps me be more disciplined about my mind and reminds me that I don't have to believe everything that I think. It's like it's just happening and I can be an observer quite often.
So you're saying that it's like, I mean, it sounds like there's loads of benefits, but when you were talking about like if you have a tendency to overthink or, you know, to have lots of thoughts going on, what happens, like what do you do when you're halfway through meditating and then you do think, oh, yeah, I didn't add that to the shopping list, or something more serious, like a deadline at work. I'm talking about, you know, and having all those thoughts. What do you do in that moment when you're meditating, when your mind wanders off?
It's back to that not following it. Quite often when I start my meditation practice, I will say, in this moment, there is nothing for me to do. And it's kind of giving myself permission of whether it's a minute, whether it's an hour, in this moment, there's nothing for me to do. And so when those thoughts do come in, and they do absolutely come in, it's kind of in this moment of there's nothing for me to do. And I'll just come back. And what really is the most powerful thing to do is when your mind inevitably wanders, you know, especially if you're just starting this, it is going to wander, then you come back to your breath. You notice that that's happening. You become, there's something that I use in therapy a lot that I'm sure we'll talk about in other sessions, but I encourage clients very often to become a curious observer of their life. So you become the director of the play rather than the actor in the play, right? And so when you're meditating, you can become a curious observer of like, oh, it's weird that thought popped in. The other thing is not just your mind that tries to get your attention when you meditate. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you meditate, all of a sudden you get an itch. All of a sudden you get like a little tickle or a tingle.
Yeah.
That's your body trying to take dominance. Your body trying, you know, almost like a toddler kind of pulling at you, saying, look at me, look at me. And so in the beginning, I would perhaps like squirm and come out of my meditation because I needed to itch my nose or whatever it was. And then I learned to use that as a tool within the meditation. So, oh, that's interesting. My body's trying to get my attention because my nose has gone a bit itchy. Wonder how long I can just ignore that. And I wonder if I keep focusing directly on that itch, if eventually it just disappears. So it becomes really empowering because it's like, I'm in control of this. And I will itch my nose if and when I want to itch my nose.
I think the very fact that you were just talking about an itch, I had an itch. It's like, oh yeah, am I itchy? So yeah, it's so easy for the brain to wander. But I wonder if this technique would help as well, because I recently read that if you confuse the brain, it stops it in its tracks. And I've heard you talk about it before, where you almost ask the question, all right, if you're so smart, guess what I'm going to think next? And when you confuse the brain, it then doesn't follow the pathway, and it sort of almost gets well, it gets confused and it doesn't know what to do. So then you're able to gain control a lot quicker. Would that be a helpful tool in meditation?
I would say not to engage with it that much. I would say to kind of just be the observer. Oh, you're trying to get my attention with an itch. Oh, I'm starting to think about dinner. That sort of thing. And then
Yeah.
you come back. You just come back all the time. I wouldn't engage with it that much because you'd start to end up having a conversation with yourself. And that's what we want to avoid. So come back to the breath, to the mantra, and just, okay, I'm just here right now.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you get into meditation?
I don't know exactly. It just kind of happened. So I think I used to meditate before I knew I was meditating.
Yeah.
And this is quite common with people. So for me, a meditation was actually sitting in the bath, like lights off, maybe a candle or two, and just lying there and kind of noticing my breath. That was definitely not an intentional thing. I didn't see that as a meditation, but I did see that at certain points in my life as a really important part of me feeling mentally strong, of me feeling like I could let go of the day. And so I think that was my first start of meditation. And then, years and years and years ago, I became a Reiki practitioner, master teacher, and meditation's used quite a lot with Reiki. And so I started to enjoy sort of more of the guided meditations. So as I've already said, there's lots of different types. And a guided meditation is almost like a story. So you relax the body, you relax the mind, and then maybe you'll go for a walk in a woodland, or maybe you'll go into a healing cave, or all sorts of different things. And I started with that. And for someone with a really busy mind, they were quite good because I was kind of forced to follow the story a little bit more. And then I did a meditation teacher qualification, I think about 13 years ago. And that gave me the opportunity to try all sorts of different types of meditation. And as soon as I started delivering corporate training, wherever I could, I would sneak in a little bit of meditation in there. Now, it wasn't always presented as meditation. It was perhaps just take a mindful minute. It was just do a relaxation. But essentially, I was going into offices and maybe talking about resilience or confidence or public speaking, all sorts of different things. And I would put in a little bit of meditation to help change the mental and physical state of the participants so they were more relaxed, more receptive to the learning.
I love that. I love how you just sort of snuck it in. So people were meditating without even realizing. I guess that probably would have sparked curiosity for quite a few other people that were doing it. It's really interesting. You said there's loads of different types of meditation, because I feel like that's how my journey into meditation started. I was always frustrated the fact that I couldn't meditate. It was I've always considered myself as I'm either on or off. Yeah. So if I relaxed or let down, I would just go to sleep. So I sort of dismissed meditation for a long time. And I've a craftsman background, and I like to hobby. And I think the first time I realized that I was meditating was when I was doing something called pyrography, where I was burning intricate patterns onto wood. And I was sort of, loads of my senses were stimulated. I was intensely focused on this one task. I loved especially when doing it on oak. I loved the smell of burning oak. It's such a beautiful smell. And then, the TV could be on, people could be talking in the background, but I was so focused on what it was that I was doing, and there was rhythm to it. And I realized that actually this was meditation. Yeah. And then I started to see it in loads of different areas of my life. Like I said, I'm a craftsman as well. I love to hobby. And I had in one of the houses we're in, had a lathe set up, so I like to do wood turning. And it could be sort of viewed as a little bit of extreme meditation because there are some incredible dangers when it comes to it. But there was an element, it was almost like the world slowed down when it was happening. You know, there'd be a chunk of wood just sort of spinning at full speed in front of me, and I'd have this chisel, and it would almost be like slow motion where like the shavings will like fly over my shoulder. And I was so intensely focused on what it was that I was doing. I then found different ways that meditation worked for me. Like, so is that meditation, or because, you know, the way that you see it is like we're sat cross-legged, breathing, listening to music. But because you mentioned different types of meditation. Is that it?
It is, but it could also be called flow state.
Yeah.
So someone called Mihai Csikszentmihalyi identified this state that is quite unique to humans. So up until Csikszentmihalyi, it was believed that humans were very much like animals in that we only did things to get a reward. So there's a very famous psychologist called B.F. Skinner who was kind of behind that theory. And oh my goodness, he taught a pig to vacuum by rewarding it, like all sorts of things. And basically you could get an animal to do anything within its capability if you were rewarding it. It was kind of the principle of it. And so he then applied that to humans and said, well, you know, humans only go to work because they get rewarded financially. Humans only, I don't know, decorate their house because it increases the value, whatever it is. And so it was believed that we only did things because there was a reward. And then Csikszentmihalyi started to question whether that was true. And one of the ways that came up was he watched someone painting a beautiful picture, putting their heart and soul into it. And then once it was finished, asked the painter what they were going to do with it. And they basically opened up a door and there was just piles and piles of beautiful paintings and said, I'm putting it here and I'm going to start the next one. And it proved that this person wasn't painting for accolades, for money. This person was painting for the process of painting. And so Csikszentmihalyi then started to look at artists, sports people who did it, you know, climbing a mountain, not telling anyone about it, but climbing it for themselves. All kinds of different feats, which people had to really commit themselves to, but maybe they never told anyone else and they certainly weren't getting paid for it. And so he came up with the idea that humans can't just be doing things for the rewards, and humans get pleasure in the process. And when he talked to the artists and the sports and the people that he was interviewing, they all came up with the same sort of responses to why they did it and why they loved it. And he translated to that into that they loved being in this flow state, in this state which is defined as being difficult enough that you have to keep focus and concentration, not so difficult that it feels impossible and you just give up, and definitely not so easy that you can kind of do 3 other things at the same time. So if you look at your example of wood turning, it's totally within your capability as a craftsman to be able to do that. But it's something that if you didn't concentrate, you lose fingers, and you've known plenty of people who've lost fingers. So you know that's a real threat. So you have to stay really focused on it. And definitely isn't too easy that you could kind of scroll Instagram at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that perfect sweet spot of difficult, interesting, not too easy. And so whenever we get into this sort of flow state, you could potentially say that we're in this sweet spot, which is a similar spot to meditation. Because in that moment, when you're completely immersed in it, if someone called your name, you probably wouldn't hear them. If you lost concentration, whatever you're focusing on would probably go wrong. So it's like this really amazing spot. We can get it from music, we can get it from gardening, from cooking. I know there was a time in my life when I was going through something really difficult and I just started baking, and I baked loads and loads and loads. And that's because in that moment, when you're baking something, you have to concentrate on the measurements. You can't just walk away and forget you've cooked it, burn it. You have to be quite present with it. And so it can be your form of meditation, I believe. I believe it can be incredibly beneficial for us to go into those flow states and have those periods of time where we are just fully focused on one thing.
Yeah, as you were talking, you were talking about when we're sat doing meditation, focusing on our breath, we are, one of the benefits is lowering our heart rate and, increasing heart rate variability. And I guess in that moment or that flow state that seems very meditative, say wood turning, for example, is only one of the examples that I can think of. I wouldn't say my heart rate is very slow. I would say that I'm in a very focused stress state at that moment.
Yes, and so that's the difference, really.
Yeah, and it's the same if I've ever been doing any sort of extreme sports, whether that is like if you're flying down a mountain on a bike and that you're very focused in the moment, but your heart is racing so incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And I guess, so it's very similar though, that flow state of meditation. So yeah, that's just why I wanted to bring it up. But going back to the different types of meditation, what would be, for someone that's new to meditation, what would be a couple of different types that they could explore?
So we've done the focus breath. So, and I've mentioned the guided meditations, and you mentioned apps earlier. For breath, I'd recommend the Breath Source. For guided meditations, I'd recommend Insight Timer. It's just finding a voice that you like. And that actually, if you're going to listen to a guided meditation, it's so important, because if the person's voice grates on you, then you're not going to feel really relaxed. So finding that. But then you can do a walking meditation. So Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, walk as if your feet are kissing the earth. How beautiful is that? If you just went for a walk, no phone, and you just were aware of every single footstep you took. There's mindfulness meditations, lots of different ones, but it's essentially bringing in all the senses. So again, you could do that walking, or you could do that sat on a park bench and just focus on what you could hear, what you could smell, what you could feel. There's all sorts. I particularly like quite chanting or mantra meditations, if you've ever tried that. I mean, the one that most people know is Om, which is meant to be the first sound of the universe. But you can just pick a word, you can pick love, peace, calm. And it's really strange that when you start saying a word over and over and over again, it starts to morph and change, and you can play with it, and the tone sounds different. And so, for some people, that's a nice state to get into. Almost feels a little bit hypnotic when you really get into a chant or a mantra. So there is something for everyone. When people say to me, I tried meditation once, I hate it, I can't do it, I always say, well, that's like saying that you tried sport once and you hate it, you can't do it. You might have not tried the right one for you. It might have been the wrong time. It might have been the wrong person leading you. There's so many factors that I believe that there is a form of meditation for everyone.
It sounds wonderful. And I'm sure all the advice that you've shared today will help people find their own way when it comes to meditation. So as I mentioned at the start of this show, that we're going to discuss it, and then we're going to get into a meditation. So in a moment you're going to start a meditation. Is there anything that anyone needs to do to prepare just before going into it, or do they need to do anything, be it like just let people know, so then you can just give a couple of minutes before, so people can run to wherever they need to?
So the number one thing for me is to silence or stay out of the way of any device. So if you're watching this on your phone or your laptop, try and silence any notifications and kind of stay away from the device as much as you can. We're kind of like Pavlov's dogs, right? The second we hear a beep, we come straight back into the room. So we don't want a rogue email from Pizza Hut going off and making you feel like you're back in the room. So that's number one. In terms of kind of positioning, sitting, I'm quite relaxed on that. Absolutely, you can sit cross-legged on the floor and do the meditation. But if you're in a chair, sit with both feet on the floor, or if you're laying down even, you can just lay down. The most important thing is that you don't have anything crossed. So one of the purposes of meditation is to encourage deep relaxation. So if I've got my legs crossed, if I've got my arms crossed, I am holding unnecessary tension. So ideally, we want the body to be as symmetrical as possible. So if you're sat in a chair like you and I are, both feet flat on the floor, nothing crossed, hands loose in your lap, it's probably the nicest place to have them. And ideally, your spine straight. Now, there's lots of reasons for this. There's spiritual reasons for having your spine straight and having your crown sort of connected to the sky. But the most practical reason for having your spine straight as breathing instructor is that if my spine is straight, my lungs have much more capacity to move freely. So if I'm slouched, my lungs are squished. If I'm straight, my lungs have much more room. So from a practical physiological perspective, we want the spine straight. So again, if you're laying down, that's really easy. Lay down in, if you've done yoga before, Savasana pose. So just having your arms out to the side of you, your feet just kind of flopping to the side. If you are sat on the floor cross-legged, really focusing on that spine is quite important, because the tendency is we start hunching over. And that, again, will also create tension, and we don't want that, right?
No, that's right. Okay, so now everyone's had a chance to get ready and prepare. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mute myself, I'll turn off my camera, and then the focus is going to be just on you for the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes. And yeah, we're going to enjoy a meditation together.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tom. Okay, so whether you're sitting or laying, it doesn't matter. What I want you to do is to start to settle into that position that you've chosen. So just start to bring awareness to how you're sat. Maybe giving a little wiggle of your shoulders if you need to loosen any tension there. And then I want you to start to bring your awareness to your breath. And just for a few breaths, we're going to breathe together. So after an exhale, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And I just want you to keep a nice rhythmic pattern of breathing. And if your mind wanders at all, just bring it back to that breath. And if you need more focus on your breath, you can notice how the air coming in is cool. And the air going out is slightly warmer. And you can also play with the breath. Try focusing on making that exhale longer than the inhale. Notice how every exhale just helps you to feel more relaxed. And as you inhale, I want you to silently say the word calm to yourself. And as you exhale, I want you to silently say the word release to yourself. Calm, release. And as you focus on that pattern of breathing in a sense of calm, releasing and letting go on the exhale, I want you to just bring your awareness to your feet. And I want you to imagine that as you take in the next inhale, you can take that all the way down to your feet. And as it reaches into your feet just start to relax a little deeper. If you have any pain, discomfort, or tension, you can use the exhale to let that go from your body. And of course, you're in control, so you need to move or adjust. You are free to do that. But as you focus on your feet, you notice that they become more and more relaxed. I want you to allow that feeling of relaxation to start to spread. Allow it to go into your ankles and up into your calves. Notice how those calf muscles can just let go a little bit more. Almost as if the muscle is just coming away from the bone a little bit. Taking that relaxation into your knees and into your thighs. Giving your thighs permission to release and relax. Our thighs carry a lot of tension. Spend a little bit of time here, encouraging them to relax. Using the inhale to take a feeling of relaxation and the exhale to release any tension. Now take that feeling of relaxation up into your hips. And just allow that feeling to just unlock your hips. To release any rigidity. To let it go. And allow that relaxation to spread all the way across your lower stomach. Allow that lower stomach to just soften and round. Release any tension, particularly in your intestines. And as you inhale, imagine that you are creating elongation and space within your digestive system. And as you create that space, allow your digestive system to settle, to go where it needs to go, to release what it needs to release. Just bring that feeling of relaxation just higher up into your digestive system now as we reach the stomach and the liver and the pancreas. All those essential organs that work so hard for you. As you breathe in, imagine that you are filling this space with energy, health. And as you exhale, imagine that you are releasing any tension, any blockages. And as you start to breathe further up, I want you to bring a sense of relaxation into your chest. Pay particular attention to where your heart is. Allowing your heart to have some love and compassion. And if you feel so inclined, you may want to place a hand on your heart. As you breathe, just notice that hand gently rising and falling. And if your hand is on your heart, just notice the heat. And as you focus your awareness here on the heart, if there's any difficult emotions, just breathe through it. Release and let go anything you no longer to hold here. And as your heart feels lighter and more relaxed, I want you to think of one thing you are grateful for. Doesn't matter how big or how small, just whatever comes to mind, think of that thing you're grateful for. And mentally extend gratitude towards it. And imagine you can feel that gratitude filling your heart and spreading out and filling your chest. Filling your torso and filling your entire body with gratitude. And just allow that gratitude and relaxation to travel up into your head. You may notice a faint smile has spread across your face. You may notice that all of those little muscles around your nose and your eyes are softening. There's a feeling across your forehead as things start to release and you start to feel more serene, calm and relaxed. And every breath helps you take that deeper. And every breath helps you to spread that wonderful feeling of calm, gratitude, relaxation through your entire body. As you just enjoy that feeling for the moment, you might want to remind yourself that you can keep this feeling with you for the rest of the day. And you might want to silently say some affirmations to support it. I am calm. I am grateful. I am relaxed. And as that feeling fills every cell of your body, in a moment, I'm going to slowly bring you back to the room, but you're bringing all of these feelings back with you. So gently, I want you to just start to wiggle your toes as you start to become aware of them once more. You might want to start to squeeze your calf muscles as you feel energy raising and rising up into your legs, as you squeeze your thighs, as your legs start to feel more and more awake. You might want to start to straighten your spine a little bit, taking in a much deeper, more deliberate breath and letting it go. And whenever you're ready, you can smile, open your eyes and come back to the room.
Thank you. That was really lovely.
Pleasure.
That was really nice. So we hope you have enjoyed this episode of the Beam Show and you have enjoyed our meditation and our discussion on it. If you have any questions about anything that we've covered, you can use the links in the description to reach out to us. We offer a free 30 minutes, so you can just chat to either me or Lianne. But also, if you sign up to our mailing list on our website, you will get alerts and notifications when we are running events that include stuff like meditation. If you are in Cardiff, we do have one in June coming up. There's still a couple of spaces left, so you can join that. And that's it from us. Have a great week, and we'll see you on the next show.